You watched every episode. You waited for the pond to open one more time. But here is the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The Way Home Season 5 is never happening. And what the writers say about it will break your heart in a whole new way. For years, fans of The Way Home have been jumping into that pond right alongside Cot, Alice, and Del. Every season gave us more questions. Every twist made us love this family more. So when Season 4 started airing in the spring, most fans thought it was just another chapter in a long story. Nobody expected it to be the last one, but that is exactly what happened. Hallmark made it clear that Season 4 is the final season of the show. There will be no Season 5, no more time jumps, no more secrets waiting at the bottom of that pond. The story fans have followed since the very first episode is coming to a close. This news hit hard because The Way Home was never just a simple family drama. It mixed real emotion with a mystery that kept getting bigger. Every member of the Landry family had something to hide, something to fix, or something to find. Del was carrying old pain from her past. Cot was trying to understand her mother while also raising her own daughter. Alice was caught in the middle of two different timelines, trying to figure out who she really was. The pond was never just a plot trick. It was the heart of the whole show, pulling the past and the present together in a way that felt personal. So when word came out that the story would not continue past Season 4, many fans felt like they lost something real. This was not just a TV show ending. It felt like saying goodbye to a family they had grown close to over the years. The people behind the show also felt this weight. The head of programming at Hallmark spoke about the ending with real warmth, thanking the fans for sticking with the story since that very first pond jump. She also promised that Season 4 would give fans real answers, not just another cliffhanger. That means the writers knew this was the end while they were writing it. Every scene in this final season was built with the ending in mind. That is what makes this moment different from a normal cancellation. This was not a show cut off in the middle of its story. This was a planned ending, built by the same writers who created the mystery in the first place. And that raises a bigger question. If the writers knew this was their last chance, what did they choose to reveal? What answers did they finally decide to give us? That is exactly what we are going to look at next. Everyone wants to blame low ratings when a show ends, but that is not the real story here. The Way Home was actually pulling in strong numbers for Hallmark. Fans were tuning in, streaming numbers were solid, and the buzz around the show never really slowed down. So if the numbers were fine, why did the story stop at Season 4? The answer has more to do with how the story was built and how it was performing. From the very start, The Way Home was written like a puzzle with a real ending in mind. It was never meant to run forever the way some family dramas do. The whole idea was built around one big mystery, the pond, and everything the Landry family was hiding from each other. Once that mystery gets fully explained, the show naturally runs out of road. You can only travel back and forth through time so many times before the story starts repeating itself instead of moving forward. Hallmark also talked openly about wanting this ending to feel complete instead of dragged out. Nobody wants to watch a beloved show get stretched past its natural limit just to keep it alive. Think about how many shows lose their spark once they run for one season too many. The magic fades, the characters start making the same mistakes over and over, and fans slowly lose interest. Hallmark seemed to want to avoid that trap completely with The Way Home. There is also the timing to think about. The cast has other projects lined up, and keeping a show running just for the sake of running it usually shows on screen. When a story is planned to end on purpose, the writers can spend their energy making sure every loose thread gets tied up properly instead of stalling for more seasons. So this was not a show that got cut short. This was a show that reached the finish line the writers had been building towards since Season 1. The ending was not forced on them. It was the plan the whole time. And that changes how we should look at Season 4. It was not written as just another chapter. It was written as the final answer to everything fans had been wondering about since that very first pond jump. Here is something most fans do not know. The writers actually had more story left in them. This was not a case of running out of ideas or hitting a dead end. The team behind The Way Home had already been thinking about where the Landry family could go next. Even while wrapping up the current storyline for the final season, one of the biggest hints came from how open-ended some of the time travel rules still were. The pond never had a strict limit on how far back or forward it could reach. That means there was room to explore other parts of the family history that never got fully shown on screen. Fans often talked about wanting to see more of the earlier generations, the ones only mentioned in passing during flashbacks. The writers seemed aware of this interest too. Since so much of the show's mystery was built on family secrets going back further than what we actually saw, there was also unfinished emotional territory with the newer generation. Alice was still learning how to handle the weight of knowing so much about her family's past and future at the same time. A continuing story could have pushed her into a role where she starts making harder choices about what to change and what to leave alone. That kind of moral weight was already building in the show, and it felt like something the writers wanted to dig into further rather than wrap up quickly. Even Elliot's story had more room to grow. His connection to the family through the pond gave the writers a natural way to bring in new twists without needing a whole new time travel device or gimmick. He was already tied into the mystery in a personal way, which meant future seasons could have used his perspective to reveal secrets the Landry women themselves did not fully understand. The writers also hinted at wanting to explore consequences more deeply. Time travel shows often focus on the excitement of jumping to a new moment, but The Way Home always tried to show the cost of changing the past. A continuing series could have leaned harder into that idea, showing what happens when good intentions cause new problems nobody expected. That kind of storytelling takes time to build properly, which is exactly why a fifth season could have worked so well if the show had continued. So while season 4 was written to close the story out, it clearly was not because the writers had nothing left to say. There was more mystery, more family history, and more emotional weight they could have explored. The ending we got was a choice, not a limit. And that makes the story we did get feel even more intentional. Because every answer in the final season was picked from a much bigger pool of possibilities. Asterisk, once the news settled in that season 4 was really the end, fans did not stay quiet. Across message boards, comment sections, and fan pages, people started sharing exactly how they wished the story had gone if it had the chance to continue. And honestly, some of these ideas felt just as strong as anything the actual writers came up with. A lot of fans wanted more time spent on the earlier Landry generations. We only got small glimpses of the family's past through flashbacks, and many viewers felt like there was a whole hidden history waiting to be explored. People wanted to know more about how the pond first started working, who else in the family might have used it before Dell, and what old secrets were still buried in those earlier years. For a show built entirely around family mystery, fans felt like the deepest roots of that mystery were never fully uncovered. Alice's future was another huge topic among fans, since she grew up carrying so much knowledge about both the past and the future. Many viewers imagined a future season where she has to make a truly difficult choice, something that forces her to decide between protecting her family and changing fate itself. Fans wanted to see her carry more of the emotional weight of the story, almost stepping into the kind of role Dell held earlier in the series. Some fans also wanted the show to slow down and focus more on the quiet, personal moments rather than constant time jumps. They felt the strongest scenes were never really about the mystery itself, but about how the characters dealt with love, regret, and trying to understand each other across different points in time. A future season built around fewer jumps but deeper emotional conversations was a popular idea among longtime viewers. Then there is the ending itself. Many fans wanted a final season that did not tie everything up in a neat bow, but instead left just enough mystery for the family to keep discovering things on their own, long after the cameras stopped rolling. The idea that the pond could still be out there, quietly waiting, felt more true to the spirit of the show than a fully closed chapter. In the end, The Way Home may not be getting a season 5, But the story clearly touched people enough to keep imagining new chapters on their own. That says a lot about what the show managed to build in just 4 seasons. It created a world fans did not want to leave. And even without new episodes, they are still finding ways to keep the Landry family's journey alive in their own minds.